Welcome to ALN Thursday at 3, and today we're launching ALN Executive Briefings, and the special subcategory of it is City and Places. But before we get to that, let's thank our organizational members, our Platinum organizational member, Onuma Inc., our ALN patron members, and Jacobs is the sponsor of this week's program. Thank you to Jacobs, but also thank you to ABS Quality Evaluations, Definitive Logic, CGI, and to all of our organizational members who make this program and the explosion of programming that we have possible. So thanks. And if you're interested in joining, contact myself or Nick, and we'll get you that information. And we have upcoming programs. Steve Whiten will be on June 29th.
Mike, oh yeah, right.
I got these out of order. Next week it's going to be Mike Santos. And then the following week will be Steve Whiten. And following Steve Whiten, we'll have a special program from members Onuma Inc. and CDV Systems. And then in July, we've got Mike Imony and Jack Dempsey talking about the National Academy of Sciences report on strategies for renewing federal facilities. It's just fascinating what that will lead to. And if you've been reading Jack Dempsey's series, I highly recommend it. It indicates what these National Academy studies do. They help shape legislation and policy. So it's really exciting to be talking about what they're going to be doing. But today we've got a special program on ALN executive briefings. We have done a couple of these and they have been successful. So we're now launching a benefit to our members. But this is our 10th year and we're starting to do new things. And you don't have to be a member. We're going to set it up so that if you want to pay the rate for the size of your city, we will do an executive briefing with you in your city and help you bring asset management to your region. And we've got a special we usually don't do slides, but this is kind of different. And we're going to open this up to anybody who would like to talk after I get through this. So here, let me share my screen again. And call up the right PowerPoint here. Let's get to the beginning and launch that. So it's our 10th year and we're doing all kinds of fun things. And Jim Dieter came up with this really nice vision statement: equitable and sustainable businesses, institutions, and governments. And that's the key to the Cities and Places executive briefings. And the mission is to inspire people to action as leaders.
Hey, Mike, we are currently seeing the opening slides. Do you have different slides pulled up?
Yeah, let me stop share and reshare this. Thank you for that, Nick.
Yeah. Yeah, it was still like a slideshow, but not, I don't think, the one you meant to be sharing.
All right, I got to do a couple things. Thanks for that information. When I went to share screen, I did not have the right slide deck up. I thought I could just change it, but and thank you, Cecilia was pointing that out too. Right. So now this should work.
Yeah, that's what we're looking for.
That's what we're looking for. Okay, so rewind to our 10th anniversary. So we're doing some different things. Jim came up with the new vision statement this year: equitable and sustainable businesses, institutions, and governments. And again, that's why we're starting off with the Cities and Places for our executive briefings. And our mission is to inspire people to action as leaders, key government leaders, in creating and preserving sustainable value. Because asset leadership is inspiring the creation and preservation of sustainable value. And if you're watching this live, or if you're watching this in a recording, you are a leader, you get this, and we want to help you inspire your local government. And we're thinking that these executive briefings will do very well. And we'll do executive briefings to the utility industry, to agriculture, to any industry, any type. But we're starting off with cities and places because all of us live somewhere. We live in a city, a township, a county, a state, a place, a country, whatever. And we want to really fire up our base by working with them to create an introductory web meeting with you to learn about what you want to be sharing. There's so much to talk about in asset management. You know your city, you know your place. What do you think is going to resonate with your leaders, your government leaders? Then we'll communicate with you further and with your local officials about the ways that asset management can help them achieve their mission. And if it's an elected official, how they can be reelected. If it's an administrator, how they can continue keeping their job and keeping things successful. And what we'll do is we'll establish an executive briefing schedule, because this is what we've done before. You have a couple of meetings back and forth with your intended leaders. They let us know what they want to talk about, when they want to talk about it. And then with you, we present to government executives. We bring in a mayor or a public official who has worked with us to be in on this so that your local officials know that other people are doing this. And maybe an ALN senior fellow or whoever you want from our stable of executives. And then we help you by following up with other communications, keep you engaged with the process of informing your leaders. So, anybody have any comments or want to jump in the panel and talk about this? Feel free at any time to let us know. But I'm going to start off by talking with Nick, because Nick is already taking the bull by the horn, and he is wanting his home city of Lander, Wyoming, to be engaged in this type of activity. And Nick, we've started the process. How did it go for you? Kind of explain what you've gone through.
Yeah, well, it's been a good process. Sorry, I'm getting some feedback. I'm gonna have to turn off the sound over here.
While Nick is getting
anyway, go
ahead.
It's been a good process, and I have enjoyed reaching out to the mayor and finding that in my small town I can reach the mayor, and what a great feeling to have a voicemail from the mayor on my phone. So we're doing it. We're in conversations and looking forward to sitting down for a full meeting and bringing Mike in to talk more.
So we're in that first phase where we've got to learn what the stakeholders want. Now, important people. We're trying to figure out the other word other than stakeholders. But the mayor has responded. There is a level of interest. We don't know if the mayor is interested in water asset management or fleet asset management, if there's excess land. We'll have to find out what that is. And then Nick has helped us onboard a new member, Christina Benty, who is the former mayor of a town in British Columbia. So she's probably very likely going to be one of the people who is with us when we do have the meeting with Lander, Wyoming. And we have quite a wealth of information and expertise to draw on. Nick has been doing some research. What have you seen that we have from our 10 years of history and of all this? Anything that resonates that you think will be good in Lander?
Yeah, well, I haven't yet been able to comb the 10 years of content that we've created, but this afternoon I did look at some stuff from Australia and from Canada, and actually a lot of it was from bigger places than Lander, Wyoming, a city, a town of 7,500 And so I'm really excited to bring in Christina Benti and other people who have specific, more rural, small town experience, because I really believe asset management can bring a ton of value to my community, and that's why I'm doing this. But I also know it's going to be slightly different than in a big city, and different than the federal perspective, obviously, that we talk about so much. But I think the core things are the same: policy, and then involving communities, interested parties, stakeholders.
Thank
Figuring
you,
out the
Cecilia.
language is good. Yep.
Yes, there's certain universalities here. And we've learned that with our Cities and Places co-chairs. Claude Tankersley, when he started his asset management journey, said he didn't know where to start. And I feel really bad that we didn't have a good enough publicity and of presence that he found us, because we would have loved to have helped him in his journey. He actually went to Australia, but that was good. That was good. He got some really good information there. So I think everybody needs to, first of all, know that this approach to asset management exists. All of us are the converted, and all of us are thinking, why don't people know it? Well, it's because of us. It's up to us to get the word out there. And I think going to our governments is a great way of making this go forward. So then another aspect of universality that we need to bring to everybody is the concept of knowing what you have. And again, Claude said the same thing. We didn't know what we have. Every organization, I don't care what size you are, even if you're an organization of one, I bet you don't know everything you've got in your garage, and you should probably manage your garage better. But anyway, we need to help people understand that that's not something that will stop you from moving forward. There are ways to approach your lack of knowledge about what you have and what you don't have. Many people have faced this problem, and it has been solved. So creating this executive briefing is a way to make people feel comfortable going forward. Thank you, John, for making me laugh by joking back with me.
Yeah, it's a bit of a funny point, Mike, but it totally is what we're talking about. It's not just that your garage will look better and feel better, it's that you can use it for what it's meant to be used for more easily. And on a city level, even a small city like Lander, that's a lot of productivity that can be gained, if nothing else. So that it's a great concept to bring to any size of project.
Right. So some of those are very common, but as we've learned from some of the executive briefings that we did, so when we talked with the head of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Civil Works, they were very interested in being able to go to Congress and saying, we're doing the best we possibly can. We're using ISO 55000 approach to asset management. And sure enough, they're on the path to establishing that. And then we went to a major city where there was a need to understand that asset management is a team sport. So we set up an executive briefing that really emphasized what that city needed to know. So we've got a very good understanding of how to approach this. And what we need is the core, our base, to help us get going. The ALN will call your mayor. The ALN will approach your senator or your representative. You'll have the backing of an association. It won't just be you yourself going there. And that gives the message you want to deliver a little bit more weight. And then we'll put together the team that you want to have be able to present. And what we have found is that there's follow-up meetings too. So you get to be engaged in your local government in a meaningful way.
Yeah, Mike, I'm really excited to hopefully bring Christina Benti into a conversation with Flanders Mayor because I really liked some of the things she was saying around co-creation with the people who live in a city and how important it is to communicate to your constituents that this is not a thing being done to them. You want their input. You want them to be co-creators in their community and how it's managed on a deeper level. And so really excited to bring her in for that kind of inclusive view that she specifically brings.
And we've got to acknowledge that it's no coincidence that Christina Benti became a member, and we're now launching these executive briefings. We are responding to what our members are interested in and trying to create the venues and the opportunities for them to deliver the messages that they want to deliver. And I think having this set up as something that any individual to participate in these executive briefings is a good step forward for the Asset Leadership Network and a good step forward for asset management, because we're seeing in the headlines every day people talking about problems as if there are no solutions. And we know that we have solutions to these sets of problems. So I think this is a good way to help member organizations and individuals engage in their communities.
Yeah, and like with the upcoming National Academy of Sciences federal facilities discussion, you know, a lot of what we do is at a federal legislative level, and I'm really glad that we're getting down to the city and place level because I think that's where most of us experience problems. Wish service levels were different, have pain points, and so I think this is kind of the tip of the spear, so to speak, and I'm glad we're coming at it from both angles, from the top and also now from more grassroots almost.
So we have roped Cecilia in, but before she joins, or as she's joining, should we share Christina Benti's comments about local government? I think so.
Oh,
She
okay.
said, if the federal government stopped working, people would know in about a year. If your provincial or state government stopped working, people would know in a month or so. But if your local government stops working, you will know the first time you flush your toilet and it does not work. So that's emphasizes what Nick was saying about the importance of the local, engaging with the local government.
And
So sorry, go ahead, Nick.
Oh, just thinking that that's you know, connecting those dots for people is something that Christina really opened my eyes to. Another part of this leadership angle is the education, and not just education, but empowering people to play a role and to try and affect the conditions that they live in and make them better for everyone. You know, just like talking about service levels and how budgets are spent and how priorities are set, and all those things that go on in the city. Hard decisions are being made, and so just making sure people have the most data available and can make the most informed decisions with everyone's experience in mind.
You can tell that Nick reviewed the series, the municipality series we did last year with Ashay Prabhu. That was a very good summary of all of the things that Ashay was saying through the series that Aesthetic sponsored. So.
Yeah, and I think the thing that we maybe haven't mentioned thus far is technology and where that's come, and the ability to have these data dashboards with unified information about assets, their conditions, their positions, and all this stuff is amazing and visually appealing. And that's not just a shiny thing that's fun to look at. That helps the decision makers. That also helps the constituents see where the money's going and feel like they are engaged in the process. So I really appreciate the modern tools that we can bring also.
So Cecilia, sorry you're not feeling so good. Thank you for joining. If you just want to talk, you can unmute yourself.
Yeah, my talking is not going to be as great as normal. And I can be seen. I don't look great, but that's okay.
Oh,
Uh,
yes, you do. Oh, you look
Oh,
wonderful.
thank you. Thank you. Well, I'm not camera ready, but that's okay.
You
This
look
is
celestial.
more important. That's exactly what I said. I hope hopefully nobody thinks I'm too spacey today. But what you were saying, Nick, what you were saying is so important. The concept behind these executive briefings is raising consciousness. And and consciousness raising doesn't just come from the top, as you're acknowledging. Nick, you're going forward with your community is wonderful. Praises to you. You're very proactive, and I have enjoyed watching you as you continue to bloom and blossom as a professional. It's amazing. But being actually committed to the ideals that you're learning and taking a step, you're dealing with something that I have hated since I was in high school, apathy, which we all are guilty of. Because we all look and point the finger and say, they aren't doing what they need to do. Why aren't they doing what they need to do? And whoever tells them what they need to do. This is a chance for anybody, whether they are at the community development stage or level, church level, they're an interested party in their community to raise a prospect of work process improvement that is the tool that is ISO 55000 asset management. And so I think it's a good idea that we look at it as a resource that we're offering up. I'm thinking, as you guys were talking, here I am in Chicago, and I've got a new mayor who is busy looking at what ways he can make a difference. So this is prime for anybody who is in a leadership position, but it's also prime as a tool for somebody who wants to bring something to the table. And so maybe I'll work with you guys to bring this to the table to Mayor Brandon Johnson in Chicago. But in general, to my economic development organization friends out there, this is something, asset management, ISO 55000, ISO being the International Standards Organization. It's a tool that is being used currently globally by governments, by businesses. It's used here in the States, it's used by our government. Why don't we all try and use something that is a simple checklist that helps us be mindful? So I think that this is an important endeavor to begin that process of spreading the word and evangelizing asset leadership, because there are many assets and they're not all tangible, and people often think about it as the HVAC and things that make things go woo, 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 but what makes us go, whoa? It's the people and the relationships that we have. And so looking at this as a tool to work with our intangible and tangible assets, I think it's really great. So bravo, Mike, your executive leadership in pushing forward on that makes a lot of sense.
Well, thank you very much. And let's do just a tiny bit of working meeting here, since you brought up our hometown of Chicago. I have been meeting with my alderman, Scott Wagasback, for many years, saying, when this is really something that you should do, I don't want you to think I'm crazy. I want you to know that I've been coming for years with you. Scott is now the head of the financial committee for the city of Chicago, and he might be a very good person to bring this to the mayor. So Cecilia, let's have a meeting with my alderman and possibly your alderman. And then a second part of this could be your church. I would love to have an executive briefing for your community, which is your church. And let's see what possibly we can do to bring asset management to them.
Yeah, that's on a, yeah, that's definitely a good point. With the church, we've had this as a background. I've been discussing it with someone else that's very, very active in the Episcopal Church, and it's the whole concept that we want to bring God's kingdom here today, and that's working on making sure everybody is received as part of God's kingdom, and not necessarily those who profess to have our faith. But yeah, so we should always think about this as a tool that can be used for any organization. It doesn't have to be a business. It can be used for yourself, your individual workload, and I need to be doing that myself.
So I know you do have a garage. Never mind. We won't go there.
And you've seen the garage and you know it needs that work. So
we will go to my idea. I mean, I said your church just because I know you're actively involved in your church, but what we ultimately want to have is an executive briefing for religious organizations, because the people who run synagogues can teach the people who teach mosques, and the people who teach mosques can teach the people who have cathedrals. It does not matter what religion, you all have assets. Let's improve the management of those assets. So that's what I said to you was just a stepping stone idea to the concept.
One thought I had there, while we're talking slightly about religion, and how it maybe asset management has something to bring to all of them. It seems like another common thread is wanting to do the highest good or the most good, and that's something, that optimizing, maximizing idea is right where we're at with asset management.
How do you know what the most good is until you understand what you have and involve the people who you're going to be impacting, have their comments, then you can start establishing those. So excellent. We wanted to introduce this new concept, and I think Cecilia has helped us. Nick, so glad that you have the example of what's actually happening with your city, and we'll try to get other people involved. So now I just want to share my screen again to do the thank yous.
Thanks for coming in, Cecilia. Your cosmic perspective is always welcome.
Yes, I love the background. And thank you to Onuma Inc. with the Onuma system. And again, Jacobs is the sponsor for this week's program. We really appreciate their input and the input of all of our patron members, including ABS Quality Evaluations, Definitive Logic, and CGI, specifically CGI Federal, and all of our organizational members. And some of them will be presenting later this month, and we thank them all. And there's so many things going on, I can't even begin to start talking about them all. So we'll just talk about what's happening next week is ALN Thursday at 3. Mike Santos will be our guest in order to promote the value and benefits from asset management program that we have with the Australian Asset Management Council on June 28th. And then on June 29th, we have Steve Whiten as the ALN Thursday at 3 guest. And immediately following that program, it's all one registration. If you join, you might be in for a while, or you can come in and out. We're going to finish with Steve. Then we'll have Kimon and Cyril doing some behind the scenes preparation work, and people can participate in seeing how they're setting up. And their presentation starts at 4. And what they'll be doing is taking the results of their work in Tokyo and landing it in Calgary, where Steve Whiten is. And we know that Calgary is increasing the amount of residential housing in downtown Calgary. And so dropping their corporate apartment building in downtown Calgary will help the owners there understand the level of information that they can open their buildings with is just phenomenal now, and they should be asking for this. We're trying to help owners understand what they can specify, because they don't even understand how artificial intelligence and digital twins governed with asset management can help them hugely increase their mission success. And then Mike Imany and Jack Dempsey on July 13th. Well, that'll be a full hour program, I promise you right now. And they'll be talking about not only what's in the document, but how the document might be affecting policy and legislation, because other national academies documents have resulted in changes in policy and changes in legislation. So it's a really exciting time in our 10th year anniversary. Thank you all for attending today. Thank you for all your support. Thank you, Cecilia, for jumping in, and Nick, thanks for taking that leadership role in Lander.
And congratulations on 10 years.
Yeah,
for
we're going to drag
ALN.
this out all year long.
Yes,
This is
yes,
that. This
isn't
is
it great?
yeah.
Jim, woohoo for Jim's vision and for your continued execution on that vision, Mike, and
Oh,
bringing
yeah.
people like Nick on board. And even converting me after how many years? 7 years of you talking about this organization and the fabulous work that they were doing and your excitement. It took me so long to realize until
And
I
now
got.
you shot to the head of the class, Cecilia. Don't even worry
There we
about
go. But look
Yeah.
at that. It is wonderful.
it. Yeah,
Okay.
this is the
God
best
bless.
team I've ever played with. It's really great.
Take care,
Thank you,
guys.
everyone. Bye.